Hi, I'm Jennifer Vardo, and I'm your host today as we'll be talking about GRIT. And GRIT stands for Growth, Resilience, Intention, and Tenacity, which leads me to introducing my guest, Jan. She was a contributing author in the first book launched, Owning Your GRIT, which was an international bestseller in 8 countries. So, who is Jan?
Oh, hi. I'm Jane Megown, and I'm the owner of Elastizell of St Louis. We're a small WBE, DBE firm specializing in lightweight cellular concrete or low-density cellular concrete, gypsum concrete, and geofoam, and floor leveling.
Wonderful. And so tell me more about your work. What are some of the projects that you're really proud of that you've been participating in, and what does that look like for you? Because you're a WE, a woman in construction, for those that aren't familiar with the construction industry.
Yeah, so actually it's a lot of what we do gets covered up, so it's you don't really see it. We do a lot of underground, like pipe abandonments, backfill, fill over poor soil, so you don't necessarily see it, but it's exciting when you go, I take my kids and we walk on the ground. I'm like, do you know what's underneath this? And we filled this, and so it's kind of exciting. But really every project's exciting. Just to say our team did that, and we are part of that. Some of the projects would be the MLS Stadium, the Foundry. We've done a lot of DOT work. We've done the Arch grounds. We've done a lot of projects in the area that's just really exciting to be part of it, to contribute to.
And I personally know your background because you come from manufacturing. So stepping into construction and being a part of those projects, that's phenomenal.
Yeah,
so
totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different way of doing things. But
yeah. So obviously being a woman in construction, what are some of the tips and tricks that you can give others that are considering jumping into that industry and being an owner or female leader in the construction industry?
So I think that it's definitely an area that women should consider. I was kind of forced into it, so I didn't really have an opportunity. And when I first started, I was basically the only woman. I go to meetings and I'd be the only woman among 100 people. So it was very intimidating. But now I'm seeing so many more women get into the trade. And I really think there's a place for women in the industry. And you can really succeed and grow and be successful. And I think there's so much support like you provide to the community. There's so much support in the community, and we really help each other, and we're all like family. And it's a great opportunity. It's something that I was like, no way do I want. I mean, it's funny that I got in construction because we had a house fire. We were doing construction, and it wasn't our fault, the fire. But I was like, after that, I was like, I couldn't even look at a hammer or nail. I'm like, I don't even want to see anything that's related to construction. And then when this opportunity came up, I just knew that it was kind of like where God was leading me. And I was kind of like, yeah, God, you got a sense of humor, construction, right? But I knew that was the path that was being led. And everyone said, don't do it. It's too hard. Women can't succeed in it. There's just, don't walk, run away. But I knew that was a path that God was telling me. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it and just do my best. But I am actually so glad that I've done it, and I think it's a great opportunity for women. And I think, you don't be too hard on yourself. I think that we have to come in and know everything and be perfect, and it's okay if you don't know everything. I knew nothing about what I did. I knew nothing about our company. And so, you learn and you try hard, and it is a lot of work. It's very tiring. But it's, you just be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself, and know that you aren't supposed to have all the answers. There's people that have been doing this for 30, 40 years, and they don't have all the answers. Construction's unique. There's always different challenges and opportunities and projects with unique challenges. So just make sure that, be easy on yourself, try your best. If you make a mistake, then it's okay. Admit you made a mistake. Figure out how you'll fix it, and then learn from it, and then put in policies and procedures that help you so that you don't make those mistakes again. And just be a team. Work with your team and find out where your weaknesses are and where your strengths are, and know that you don't have to have every single strength. Mm-hmm. That there will people that will, but know what, kind of put together your team, knowing what the strengths or weaknesses are, and fill in those gaps of the weaknesses. And just have good communication, work together as a team to accomplish things. And I really think that women really will be very successful in this industry.
Well, that's really inspiring. I think those are great words of wisdom. And I think the thread of everything that you're saying, all I can hear is grace. Give yourself grace. You don't have to know all things all the time.
Yeah.
and then learn the lessons and then learn from them so you don't, go through those same potholes and challenges twice. So I think that's great advice. So, and I heard the humor in the very beginning, which leads me to your chapter. So tell me a little bit about your chapter in Owning Your Grit, and for those that haven't read your chapter and your contribution.
Yeah. So it's funny when you asked me to be on this book, I appreciate it. And so I do things sometimes a little like at the last minute, doing so many things. And then, so I was writing the chapter. It was a final review or final product that was due in like 15 minutes. And I happened to be out of town at work, and I was in the same town as my daughter. So I said, hey, come to the hotel. I got to work on something and I want to see you. And so I had just finished everything, and I said, hey, look at this. And she looked at it and she goes, oh my gosh, you can't write that. You can't do that. And I said, why not? She said, my gosh, you're talking about even 2 different shoes on, and you're just embarrassing. You're saying things like you're putting something out there for everyone to read that's kind of embarrassing. And I said, it's all right. And I hit send. She's like, no way did you hit send? And I go, it's okay. Because I think my point, what I wanted to make, and maybe I maybe embarrassed myself a little bit, but I kind of wanted to do that because I wanted to tell people that it's okay if you make a mistake. It's okay if you do something embarrassing. All my growing up, I was always so hard on myself, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'd sit there and fret and lay awake all at night. It's like, oh my gosh, I was so embarrassing. Why did I do that? I'm so stupid. Why did. But now I've come to learn that, what, it's okay. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And, it's okay. If you make a mistake, you do something embarrassing. As long as you didn't hurt someone or offend someone, then, it's okay. We're not perfect. People, and I think today, especially society, wants to make it so that you're, social media and everything. Wow, you're perfect. You got it all together. And people feel, they look at that and they always think, man, I'm inadequate. I'm not this. I'm not that. And, no one's perfect. And we all make mistakes. And you got to kind of laugh a little bit at the things that you do, and we all have weaknesses and we all have strengths. And the funny part is, my weaknesses that I beat myself up about, now I'm kind of like, when I see myself in action, those weaknesses, I'm like, they're kind of a strength, actually, and some of people laugh at me like, well, how do you turn such a negative and positive? I'm like, well, I kind of do, because I see the other end of the weaknesses is some, like surrounding situations that someone may have that strength, and I'm like, well, there's some drawbacks to that strength too. So, and I think you learn that, like, what I thought I couldn't do or I wasn't good at, all of a sudden I realized that, wow, I can do that. Like, sometimes I'm like, boy, that was really stupid, but then all of a sudden I do something like, well, that's pretty intelligent of me. I can't believe I thought of that, or I did that, or you surprise yourself. So I think I just want to kind of put it out there that it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to do something that wow, why did I do that? Don't beat yourself up. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Well, I love that. And I think that vulnerability as a leader in your role is truly inspiring too. And then you can see yourself more in that story. Because I was just joking with you before, like, I remember leaving without a bra on once, and I was like, oh my gosh, things are just so hectic. And I can laugh after it now, but I'll be like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But I mean, you do, like, when you're a leader and you're at the top, everybody assumes you have it all figured out, but that's not the case. And I love that you shared real life and were real.
Yes. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, like, they think that you got to have it all up here. And I think more importantly, what you all have to have it is here. And that's really, to me, that's what really a successful leader is. It has it all in here. And that's, we can all, like, sometimes you can't help if you can't figure out this huge math equation. Your brain just, you sit all night, and maybe it's just, sometimes your brain's not wired that way. You can't help that, but you can definitely improve and work on what's inside by self-reflection and always doing the right thing, always treating people respectfully, kindly, and always making sure that you take care of others. And one thing as a leader that kind of like my father was, I was a little kid, he would drive my sister to work, and then she started like 3 hours before I did. So then I would go make calls with them. So I felt like I was kind of like working as a kid, because I go on all these business calls with them before I went to work. But one thing he taught me is that you always look up to people. You never look down. And so, and that was how he was a successful leader. He always took care of the employees and the customers first, and he always came last.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think that servant leadership definitely shines in who you are and how you show up as well. So is there any words of wisdom or any mantras that you live by to help you give yourself that grace, give yourself that self-reflection, and that you could share?
So I think, well, the biggest thing I have is my faith, which, we all, like, I suffered, I had worked really hard on my life to build our life where it was. And then all of a sudden we had this tragedy, we had this fire, and kind of like lost everything. We were insurance denials. We weren't denied replacement, even though the fire wasn't our fault. We all of a sudden found ourselves where we had to start over in life. And then my family, it was just really, really hard. I have a lot more empathy for people that go through house fires now that I understand all the scenarios and all the hardships. It's not about the money and the value and the items. It's about just everything the toll that it does to you, and it does on your family, emotionally, physically. My husband was going through a really hard time. And I think, I just had to, life sometimes doesn't go where we want it to go. And what we've been working so hard, it takes a turn for the worse and, a negative way. And you just have to, some people say, oh, I could conquer the world. Well, some of us are at the point where we're just conquering trying to get out of the bed,
Right.
get ourselves out of the sheets. I mean, I'm not worried about the world. I'm worried about just getting my body out of this bed right now. So, we're all at different stages in our lives. And I'm not trying to have any kind of like empathy, sympathy for what my situation is, because we all have our crosses to bear. And my cross is, I'm fortunate for our crosses because we're all made out alive in the fire. And there's people that are dealing with a lot worse situations. So I'm not comparing or asking for sympathy or anything like that. I'm just trying to put in perspective, like hardships,
Yes.
How do you get past it? And I think you just have to be easy on yourself, and you have to say, take it one day at a time and just do your best. And that's all you can ask of yourself, and have faith in God and trust in the plan. And sometimes it may seem like, boy, this is not at all what I asked for and prayed for, but you got to know that that's a path. And maybe it's negative, but there will be positive and light at the end of it, and something to walk away with, a better person and a stronger person.
That's amazing. And I think you just embodied what grit is all about, showing up and having that growth mindset and just, stepping into the unknown and being tenacious along that journey, even though it wasn't the one that you had asked for or wanted. But then again, at the end of the tunnel, there was light.
Yeah.
So is there any other things that you'd like to share with us today?
No, I just think just life is tough. Life is hard, and we're all not perfect, and we're all trying to figure out this thing called life. And don't be caught up in what other people have and what other people are doing or how good you think other people are, and don't compare yourself, and don't rate yourself. Like don't keep score. Just you got to enjoy life, and you got to have fun, and you got to do the best you can, and do that by just doing the best you can and taking it day by day, and don't compare yourself, and it's funny because I said, like, I'm not really a goal setter, and but when I bought the business, someone sat down with me and said, now I want you to write down what you want to be in 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years. So I did it because I was asked, but then I kind of stored it away. And then the other day I was cleaning out stuff and I found it. And because I really was like, I'm just doing the best I can. I'm going to do it day by day and do the best I can. And I'm going to work the best I can with our team and work together and try to take customers the best I can and do the best job. And the chips will fall where they may. And so when I found that piece of paper, and I was like, wow, I thought it was like pie in the sky what I was writing down. And then I'm like, well, we actually have exceeded these. And it wasn't like trying to be like, oh, I'm so gory and I'm going to do this and here's how I'm going to do it. It was just like, I'm just going to do the best I can. And that's all I can ask of myself in our team. And it will be what it is. And so we ended up exceeding where I thought was pie in the sky kind of expectation. So
That's awesome.
I think you just need to, not be so hard on yourself. Try your best. And if you fail, then just pick up and keep going and saying it's okay. I'm going to make it through, and it's all right.
I think that's amazing. And that is absolutely kudos to you and your team for exceeding the goals that you didn't even really have as goals. But that's awesome. I hope you celebrated that. So that's cool.
Oh,
so thank you so much, Jan, for being here today. It's awesome learning more about you and hearing more about your story and your journey and your business. And just congratulations on your success.
Well, thank you. Thanks so much for everything. I appreciate it.